Hi, and welcome to another Play It Loud. I Was There. This is a story about a few years apart and how they differed. Recently, I tried to get hold of some tickets for the Doobie Brothers, like the Doobie Brothers, and there were tickets available. Went online and had a check. Personal issue. I think the cheapest I could see them was about £116. Now, going back a few years, quite a few years, I went to the Starlight Ballroom in Greenford. It wasn't far from me, and you could go down on a Saturday, maybe on a Sunday, get into a relatively small queue. You paid your 10 bob on the door, and you might have seen Cream, Pink Floyd, Pretty Things, Spencer Davis, The Small Faces, Georgie Fame, John Mayall. The list is really long. You decided on the day, you paid on the door, you had a really good night. And I want to talk about a couple of those gigs now. The first is the Spencer Davis Group. We'll get into the albums. There's only 3 of them. We'll get into the albums in a moment, but for those who don't know, the lead singer in the Spencer Davis Group was Stevie Winwood. He went on through Traffic to become famous, to have a solo career. One of the Partholon of rock singers, rock stars. When I first saw him at the Starlight, he was playing a white, I think, Fender guitar. Might have been a cheap copy because they didn't have a lot of money in those days. And he was, I think, 15 years old. It was an extraordinary gig. And we're talking, I think, August, July, somewhere around there, 1966. So, Spencer Davis Group. Let's look at a couple of albums. Their first album, got a copy here if I can turn it around the right way. This was very much what English beat groups at the time were doing. It's covers of American R&B, soul. It's got tracks you might know on it. It's got Dimples on it, I think a John Lee Hooker song. Searching, Coasters, It's Gonna Work Out Fine, I Can Tina Turner. They're all really good covers, but yeah, you might want the originals. But this is not an album to be easily dismissed, but it was their first album. And they were very young and they were still learning their trade. The second Spencer Davis album, this is the one you want to play loud. By now, they'd really got their act together. I saw them again at the Starlight Ballroom roughly 3 months after the first time. I remember distinctly, they opened up with Keep On Running, which at the time was just beginning to chart. They closed with that track as well. But between the two, they played some fabulous covers. Stevie Winwood singing Ray Charles' Georgia on My Mind. How does somebody at that age have that much talent? It was a great gig. Everybody there loved it. There was crowds in front of the stage. They were on fire. They were a really good band. So if you haven't heard Spencer Davis Group, look them up in the dictionary under English beat groups and you'll see Spencer Davis Group. They were that good. Okay, moving on. The second band that I'd like to discuss today is the Pretty Things. I saw the Pretty Things at the Starlight Ballroom. What can you say? A rhythm and blues band. They started exactly like the Rolling Stones and were covering pretty much the same sort of tracks. Derek Taylor was their lead guitarist, and for a while, before the Stones were famous, he was playing with the Stones. I think before even Charlie Watts joined them. But it comes from that era, from that sound. It's very much an early Rolling Stones sound. Phil May, lead singer, sadly died a couple of years ago. Pretty Things went on for many years, but in their youth, they were really exceptional. They were energetic. The story is they were much dirtier and your parents wouldn't have liked them even as much as the Stones. They were way out to the left. Now, in reality, they were really nice guys, but publicity in those days, it was really important. So, Pretty Things, what can I tell you? They had 3 fabulous early singles. Honey I Need, Don't Let Me Down, and Rosalind. Midnight to 6, I think, followed that up. And it's their early stuff that I'm talking about now, because they went on to do some completely different music. Led Zeppelin signed them to Swan Song, their first, Led Zeppelin's first label. They were apparently, Pretty Things were apparently the first group to do a rock opera before The Who, before others who have claimed it. But I want to go back to their R&B days, because their R&B days, that's the time that you want to play loud. This, right way up, is their first album. Again, tracks you'll probably know. Oh Baby Doll, Moon is Rising, Bo Diddley's Pretty Thing, bound to do that of course, Roadrunner, Big City, doing exactly the same thing as a lot of British groups did at the time, copying the American R&B and soul, but I think doing it very well. Stating the obvious to say that the Stones and others made a very long career out of it. The Pretty Things problem was at that stage they weren't writing their own material. Second album, get the picture? Did you like that? Get the picture. I think they might have started writing a couple of these tracks, but I'm being honest, I haven't checked. There's, again, some great stuff on it. It's a really good album, and I'd like you to play it loud, and I'd like you to concentrate on the Pretty Things early stuff. Their first 3 albums. Yeah, go for that. I'll tell you a little story. When I saw the Pretty Things at the Starlight, they did it 2 sets. They had roughly an hour, broke for 20 minutes, half an hour. Everybody retired to the bar, and then they came back for a second set. When they finished their first set, I went into the bar. Phil May, their lead singer, elbowed me out of the way to get to the bar. I don't regret that at all. I've remembered it all these years later. Can you imagine Taylor Swift or Adele doing the same sort of thing today? I don't think so. It was a different world, a completely different world, and I think all the better for it. Those were great days. They were great gigs. Maybe 800 people at the most, small bar, small area, small charge to get in. I think it's a great pity they've gone. Great pity I don't get to see the Doobie Brothers either. Cheers. P.S. A quick word on drummers. Viv Prince was the drummer with the Pretty Things, and he came from the Keith Moon School of Drumming. And British drummers around that time were very different to their American counterparts. I think the Americans took the Hal Blaine School of Drumming to heart. The Hal Blaine played on Simon and Garfunkel, Beach Boys, umpteen top 10, top 20 singles. Over here, the drummers, they fought with their kit. They played to the vocalist and not the bass guitarist. And Keith Moon of The Who was the prime example. But Viv Prince comes into this category, and there's a few others too. Can I mention here Mick Fleetwood, Ginger Baker, John Heisman of Colosseum. These were a very different style of drummer for what became rock music, and they were very influential. Already mentioned Nick Mason of Pink Floyd. To check these people out, they're the back of the groups. They weren't the stars. They didn't get their pictures on the front of the New Musical Express, Melody Maker, Fab magazine. But without them, British rock music would have sounded a lot different.